It's time to engage, educate, and empower with Tracy Maxfield.
Happy Thursday, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Engage, Educate, and Empower, the podcast which aims to highlight the social issues, life challenges, and day-to-day problems that children, teenagers, and young adults around the world have to deal with. So as we know, we're in the middle of a pandemic, COVID-19, and many are on mandatory isolation, are on lockdown, and others are on voluntary self-isolation. Obviously, there's no school for our kids, which means the majority of parents or other family members are now homeschooling. And for those kids who have a disorder such as autism spectrum disorder, special needs, have a mental illness, or ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, it is very stressful and very challenging. So it's timely that today's very special guest is going to talk to us about life at home with our kids and how to manage children and teenagers who are living with ADHD and other special needs. So my guest today is someone actually that I've known on social media for years. And last October, whilst I was in Toronto, Ontario, I had the pleasure of connecting with Donna for supper. And then we actually did a walk across a bridge in recognition of suicide prevention awareness. So Donna Hunter is a well-being coach. She works with individuals, families, businesses, and schools to bring clarity, harmony, and productivity to people's lives and environments. Having healed her own life, Donna is a strong well-being educator, speaker, group facilitator, and a voice for living with passion and purpose. Donna brings compassion, insight, and unwavering support for well-being to families, individuals, businesses, and schools. Skilled with a conflict resolution model that teaches how to communicate effectively to bring peace and connection within relationships. Donna also teaches how to positively advocate for others for success for all. Now, Donna's specialty areas, as I've just explained, are ADHD, ASD, autism spectrum disorder, learning challenges, anxiety, well-being in the home and school, and mental health. So I think you'll agree today is going to be a must-see or must-listen podcast. We're going to take a very quick commercial break, and when we return, it will be my great pleasure to introduce you to Donna Hunter. Stay tuned.
Tracy Maxfield is a retired nurse with over 36 years' experience in mental health and dementia. She has spent years studying, researching, and writing on dementia care, mental illness, and bullying in teenagers. Tracy struggled with chronic depression starting in her 20s, and after years of intense workplace stress, bullying, and harassment, her chronic depression intensified. Tracy wrote her book, Escaping the Rabbit Hole, My Journey Through Depression, as a way not to only relieve her stress and anxiety, but to help her friends and family better understand depression. The book became an international guide for mental health awareness, allowing Tracy to focus her attention on helping children, teenagers, and their parents work through mental health issues and bullying. She travels all over the world to meet with schools, mental health advocates, and experts in the mental health fields. She also offers online courses to help children, teenagers, and their parents work through issues, bringing families closer and to bring awareness to bullying in society. For more information on Tracy, her mission, the show, Tracy's book, and offered courses, visit tracymaxfield.com. You can see the latest news on mental health, upcoming guests on the podcast, read Tracy's blogs and articles, and more. Plus, follow Tracy all over social media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube to watch the podcasts. See her daily messages and motivation and learn about each podcast guest and experts. Plus, while you're on the website at tracymaxfield.com, be sure to sign up for the free monthly newsletter. Follow Tracy with her upcoming events, interviews, seasonal tips, and the latest articles discussing important mental health topics and issues. And when you subscribe, you'll get a free copy of Tracy's booklet, Why Our Kids Are Suffering and How We Can Help Them. Just go to tracymaxfield.com. Tracy is committed to bringing parents and their children closer, to battle bullying and bring awareness to the mental health of children. That's why Tracy is offering her online courses to any adults, parents, children, and teenagers struggling during those hard times. Sign up for the course at tracymaxfield.com. You'll receive 8 full modules, over 12 videos, resources, and support discussing mental health, mood disorders, eating disorders, behavioral disorders, social media, drugs, suicide, risks and signs, and much, much more. Plus, you'll get access to Tracy's private Facebook group for individuals going through the same thing you are. Connect with others and share ideas, support, and motivation with Tracy helping along the way. Tracy's online courses is now for a limited time available for only $158. See all information online at tracymaxfield.com, where a brighter future is possible.
Welcome back, everybody. And as promised, it's my great pleasure to introduce you to Donna Hunter. Donna, thank you so much for joining us on this podcast. It's great to see you again. It's been a couple of months since last October, and I noticed that both of us are still, when we met in October, we wore identical colors, and now we've met.
We're doing it again.
We're doing it again.
We're always aligned.
That's right. So thank you again. And as you know, right, very, very challenging times right now, especially for children and teenagers, but for adults too, because we're going through a time of fear and confusion and anxiety. And on top of that, now with the no school, so many parents or family members are being asked to actually continue education of our kids in the home environment. And as someone who has a child with ADHD, and I know ADHD is one of your many specialities, but I think it's important that people understand that ADHD is not a mental disorder. It's not a mental illness. And I think that is so key. And so please just explain to us, always love your philosophy on what ADHD is. So
Okay.
why don't you talk to us a little bit about that first?
It's the shame is that ADHD is so badly named because it's ADHD meaning attention deficit, right? And there's no deficit for someone who has ADHD in attention because they pay attention to everything. So the challenge that they have is filtering out all these things coming at them. This is why it causes a lot of anxiety for people with ADHD because their brain doesn't process at that level. So they're getting bombarded with so much stimuli, so much information, and their brain can't process it all. So it's not a deficit in attention. It's very badly named. So people with ADHD their brain works fast, and when they're talking, so if they're sharing something with you, their brain works very, very fast. But if they have to take in information from you, their brain operates a little slower, so they need time to digest and process that information. Unfortunately, in our world, we do something I call stacking. Lots of information, pound, and then kids are still trying to process the very first thing that you said, so they can't get to it's overwhelm. So if you speak to anyone who has ADHD, the number one word they're going to say, overwhelm, lots of overwhelm. So that's kind of what it is. So there are 8 executive functionings that are impacted for someone who has ADHD and at different levels. That's why there's no one size fits all.
That's right.
So even when I'm working with families, I'm working with someone who has ADHD, I'm really tailoring everything to them because how is it showing up for them? So I don't like labels. I say label jars, not people.
Right.
Because I want to get to where are the challenges for an individual and how can we clear the blocks and barriers so they can get a well-being life, because I'm a well-being coach.
Exactly.
So my focus is on well-being, always on well-being, and what's going to bring that well-being to that person. And it can look different for everyone and every child. Right now with this pandemic, there's a lot of stress. So
Yes.
even people who don't have ADHD, they got ADHD
Yes.
right now.
Yes.
Because what is it? It's a neurological brain challenge. So stress freezes our brain, stops our brain from working in the way we want it to work. So a lot of people who don't have ADHD will be experiencing ADHD-like traits because of stress and anxiety. Now you bring kids home. Now you've got parents who are already stressed out because a lot have lost their jobs and their income. And it's a whole huge learning curve. We have to learn, how do we do things now? And we're worrying about, sickness and getting sick and loved ones getting sick. And, this is something none of us really know how to navigate, because this has never been in our lifetime. The last time was in 1900s where it hit at this impactful level.
Spanish flu, yes.
So we have to learn a lot in a short amount of time.
Yes.
So, think of that fight, flight, response going on right now for people. So you see a lot of this, a lot of fighting, a lot of emotions.
Yes.
So now we've got kids at home, and what I help people to do to stay calm and centered, doesn't matter if they're a child or an adult or whoever, is to be in present moment.
Yes.
Because every time someone tries to read stats to me, I say I'm not interested. I don't want to hear how many deaths there are or all these predictions, because that is, to me, that is all speculatory. We don't know. We truly don't know. And all I want to know is, what do we need to do for the well-being of everyone? What do we need to do? Give me the blueprint, which I have now, which is the hand washing, the social distancing, all of that. That's what we need to know. Every time somebody is given information, and now you can imagine when someone with ADHD already overwhelmed operates for them, they catastrophize, worry, anxiety is kind of the norm.
Yes.
Now you add all this other stuff. They don't need that information. They need information on what do I need to do to navigate what's going on right now. Give me my blueprint. Give me what I need to do. That's what they need.
I agree. And actually, I go one step further. Children, teenagers do not need to know everything, because we're in a very, very vulnerable position right now. And because of that fear of the unknown. And we have to turn it around. And as you say, I love when you say you have to be present, and you have to be in the present moment. There are certain things in life that are out of our control. And this pandemic is out of our control. All we can do is take care of one another and ourselves. And so, yes, social distancing, the self-isolation, the hand washing imperative, the, coughing into your elbow and all that. And I think, just seeing on social media, there is a lot of false news that is going out there. And you really should only have news from reputable sources. So guess what, people? Social media is not your source for news unless it is a video from the World Health Organization, or maybe your leader, whether or not be a prime minister or a president. But people, sending you information that's relevant to the Bible and their take on it in relation to the pandemic, or just, information from a friend in Italy. No.
No, well, because it causes a lot of anxiety and stress. And it's not true, this is here to punish us. This is not a truth.
No.
It is not here to punish us. It is not here to undermine any leaders in the world. It is not, that isn't why this is here. I look at it like it being a greater picture, because I look at always the silver lining and the positives.
Yes.
Right. So really what's coming out of this, I think what is going to come out of this is that we're having to learn to slow down.
Yes.
We're having to learn to, realign with what matters, which is what I'm always sharing about. What really matters. People matter. Nothing else really matters but people. And so when this is done and over, we're going to be dancing in the street, and we're going to care about, because we're getting a loss of so many things that's going to help make us have to pivot and realign into what's important. So what then becomes important? What becomes important once we're allowed out again and to go, but what becomes important? It becomes important to walk down the street and smile at somebody because you didn't get to see them for a long time, right?
Exactly.
It becomes important, your loved ones that, I know this just for myself with my own mother, that right now, and I see my mother once a week, but my siblings, I have 3 siblings, they're like contacting my mother almost every day, like in a lot more contact with her. So my mother's now getting, it's joyful for her because she's getting all check-ins from all of us, all her children, which they don't have because they don't have as much time as me because I'm an entrepreneur, so I make my own time. So I think that we're going to see a lot of goodness come out of this. And of course we have to mourn. We have to mourn the loss of life. And that's the hardest part. Also, how do we need to take some pressure off. I want to just talk a bit about what's going on for kids at home. And I've seen, and even with my own clients, a lot of meltdowns from people because there's too much on their plate and they can't handle what's going on. And then they feel like they have to homeschool their child, and it's freaking them out. And I want to
absolutely, it is
a little bit. Is one, teachers are going to meet them where they are when they return, because not every child has social media. Not every child. We have to think in a bigger picture all the time. It's not every kid is privileged. They're not. So there are children who do not have emails or electronics. So they're not going to leave these children out in the cold when they return back to school. So I know that teachers are going to meet kids where they are when they return. And parents don't need to stress about fighting, because it's worse to sit with your child and argue with them about you want them to do homework for whatever time. A lot of parents have been very grateful when I've shared with them about this bit of information I'm sharing now, because they feel it is just the fighting that's going on between parents and their kids, the power struggles, because they're trying to get their kids to do homework, and you're not even in that environment. They're not even in that environment. They're the parent. So the children have to learn, like, okay, well, I have to listen to you now as you're my teacher. Well, that's not the dynamic. The dynamic is parent and child. So that's a whole stressor for them. The other thing is, children, and you and I talked about this before, people and children can't learn with anxiety. No. The brain is frozen. It doesn't work. So this is why it's very important for teachers or anyone to create a safe environment for learning. A learning environment is a safe environment, emotionally safe. So if you have a teacher who's shouty or is rigid, that child isn't learning in that environment.
No, because that child is picking up all that bad negativity. Yes,
and they're scared. You can even see in test results for kids like especially ADHD kids, the anxiety that those kids have. It's not a true accurate of their knowledge, because the anxiety rode with them the whole time that they had to do that test, which froze the information. It couldn't get from the middle of the brain to the frontal cortex, which is where cognitive function is. Yeah. So that test is not even accurate. So it is all learning, right? So people have to learn, like, what can they do? They're terrified that their kids are now, because they're off school for such a long time, are they going to be behind? How are they going to get caught up? And all of that, right? But they're going to meet them where they are, right? Where they are. And they're going to figure it out. I tell people to take a breath and relax, because the teachers and everyone's the same as everyone else needs time to work it out, and then they're going to share that information with you. So this is back to present moment. A lot of people are panicking about things that aren't relevant right yet.
Exactly. I agree. And the thing is, what's important to remember is that It is not just you and your child. It is every single child. For example, every single child in Canada and the United States and the United Kingdom are out of school. This is not just Joe and Jack in the street are out of school. This is everyone. And
Yes.
so there will be a different response, and all that would be taken into consideration. And I think also for the, for family or parents who are saying, I can't do this lesson plan, or give them homework. I see that the fact that everyone is now self-contained in their home, in their trailer, in their apartment, wherever home chooses to be, this is a gift. You are being offered a gift of reconnection with your children, with your teenagers, especially with teenagers, because we know they want to be independent and do their own thing. This is the time to connect and start building really joyous, happy memories that you want to look back on the pandemic as saying it was a very scary time. But do you remember when we all sat down and watched that movie and you snorted
played a board
coke
game
up your
together.
nose, and
Yeah.
we were just, let's get back to puzzles and board games and movie time and reading and baking. And why can't learning be, let's learn the social skills of life and how to run a household, because guess what? When you get older, you will have to do that. So, and it's involving them in other tasks. Why can't they look at the household expenses as a math lesson and budgets? It is totally possible for little children. Math is counting spoons and tea towels and adding up 5 forks and 8 knives and, following a recipe.
Yeah, if you're really looking at, if we're looking at the real truth in the matter of where, who really is this, if we're looking at this education system and kids, who really is going to be most impacted? It's not going to be the grade schoolers or grade 9 and 10. Grade 11 and 12 are the 2 grades where they're, getting ready to go off to university,
Absolutely.
right? So those kids are the ones are going to really be impacted the most, where the focus needs on helping them, stay with, and I'm not saying that it's not important for the grade school and stuff. However, the grade school can do exactly what you're talking about. Those parents don't need to worry. Those kids are going to get caught up like that the second that they're back in the school system. And they can still teach them things at home. They don't need to sit with them and make them hours and fight with them at a table. They don't. They absolutely do not. And because I've been doing this now for 10 years, supporting families of kids with challenges. And now I coach all people for well-being. But when I started out, I was specifically coaching families of children with ADHD. And like you said, I do have one. I actually have 2. I have 3 kids, 2 diagnosed with ADHD, and 1 daughter with pretty bad anxiety. So on any given day, me helping my daughter manage her anxiety is, challenging. I don't put a focus on academics. I put a focus on mental well-being, because
Yes.
I know when we're mentally well, we do well academically.
Everything falls into place. I 100% agree.
So I do not focus on, when my children get a report card, I'm not looking at the grade. Even when I'm working with students, I'm helping them read it differently. I'm helping them read it from an empowering way.
I agree.
Rather than I suck, I'm stupid, which is what these kids will often say. So I'm getting them to look at it very, very differently, to look at it and say, okay, this tells me, the grade that you got tells me some things you didn't understand.
Yes.
That's it. There's information you didn't quite understand, and the grade is reflecting that, not you're stupid. Because no one is actually stupid.
Oh.
It's what we know and what we don't know. That's it. And what we don't know, we can find out.
I agree, and I hate the you're a winner or a loser, or you're a failure. No, I don't like those words. I do not use them. There is no loser. There is no failure. And I think one of the challenges is that we now have a society where they say it's not an option, and we don't teach our kids, even from a very young age, that about failure. You don't even have to word it as failure. You will not always get what you want. You will not always get an A. You will not always win that race. You will not get that toy. It does not mean that you're stupid and no one loves you and you're not going to get on in the world. We have to look at, I always say, we have to reframe failure. It's a learning opportunity.
This is one of my favorite things to talk about, actually, Tracy,
right,
because I reframe failure, on the daily,
yes,
which is, no, it isn't a fail. So here's how I word it for people to understand it. You can only fail if you quit,
yes,
if you don't do it. And what you're actually failing is to produce a result. That's it. So if we're doing something, we are always producing results, no matter what the results are. And those results are for us to grow with or move in a direction, like you were just saying, what direction you move forward with. So you as a person is not a failure. You just failed to produce a result. If you quit, if you don't quit, you are producing results. Therefore, it's not a failure. It is growth all the time.
And
So even if you think about it from how scientists work, how many times does a scientist do something before they get the result that they're trying to get? Are they failures? Are all our scientists failures? No,
yeah,
they're not, right? They are all the time. Let's try this. Let's try this. Let's try that. Oh, no, we got this result. Now we got this result. What they don't do is say, oh, I didn't get the result I wanted. Now I'm a failure and I suck. They don't do that. Instead, they say, oh, they take from that whatever information and keep trying. So that's what really failure is. Failure to produce a result. It is not personal.
I know, I agree. And I say to all parents and to kids and teenagers, it is a learning opportunity. Because we need to develop skills and strategies on how to manage our emotions, how to cope with not getting what we want. We need to build on that and keep every single year as we age. So when we get to adulthood, we're not in an environment that suddenly says, what do you mean? You can't buy that car and you're going to university, and you've never ever handled rejection or not getting what you want. You're going to have a young adult who's going to be very angry, very confused, and that in itself increases the likelihood of them either getting a mental illness or a mental disorder, or turning to other ways to try and satisfy that feeling. And it may not be a good one. They may turn to drugs or alcohol. They may just get a very angry person, become a bully. There are so many avenues. And so we really need our kids to understand that things are not always going to work out for them, but that doesn't mean that they're a failure. And even if
if we look at really what I see as something that does cause a lot of impact and an unhealthy impact is expectation.
Yes.
Because when you make because a lot of expectation is unrealistic.
100%.
Like 99.9% of expectation is unreal. Even now, expectation during this pandemic, what's the expectation that you're going to do this, and you're all just going to be, no, people place an expectation on themselves that's unrealistic. So if we get rid of expectation and we look instead of, like I was explaining about the scientists, if we're looking at, okay, so if I do this, what result am I going to produce here? And then how do I move forward with it? Then we don't place it has to go this way. And this is what causes the problems, what you're talking about. If it doesn't go the way I want it to go, I'm a failure, right? Which is very unhealthy. If we didn't have an expectation, whatever way it goes, we're going to be able to handle, because we didn't place an unrealistic expectation that it has to be, whatever the thing is, has to be this way. Then we become flexible and we flow. And when we become flexible and we flow, we're able to handle life. And if we can't handle life, and what you're talking about, which can invite mental illness, is when we are inflexible. Yes. As in something doesn't happen. Like, I have a client that I work with a lot on helping this particular person be sort of flow and be flexible, because they get so overwhelmed and stressed out when something's as simple as someone's coming to pick something up from them, and that person calls and tells them they no longer can come pick that thing up at that time that they said. Yes. That throws that person into such a tailspin. They cannot handle it because they have gotten themselves into such rigidity, which we can see a lot of rigidity anyway in ADHD and also autism. This is why we need to help them open their mind a little more to flexibility, as in, if something doesn't go the way you want, it's okay. You can handle it. And here's how.
Yes.
Like, here's what you can do. Here's what that means. And you can handle it, because they don't believe, and this has to do with expectation, that they can. They don't actually believe they can handle it, but the truth is they can, and it's okay. But you have to show them how, and that has a lot to do with flexibility and expectation.
No, I agree. And I think one of the challenges with expectation is a lot of it is based on comparison.
Another very bad.
No, absolutely. And I think that it is. And I mean, comparison, I think Roosevelt said, comparison robs you of happiness.
Yeah, everything, yeah.
And we have become a society where always compare ourselves to others as adults, which then filters down to our kids. That in itself creates problems, because just because someone seemingly has the perfect ideal life, we all know that what goes on behind closed doors is not representative of what their life is really like.
Yeah, no. This one is a big one, right? Because people, especially with social media, right? And I remind people continuously, what you see on social media is what they want you to see on social media. So, because I tell this little story, if we have time, about how on social media I was going to meet up with some friends that I hadn't seen in a while. And I thought, I'll just do a quick check-in on social media to see, sort of what's happening. Each one had posted something great, wonderful, everything's so fantastic. I was like, oh, I'm so happy. I can't wait to see them. They got all these wonderful things going on. Then we get together. And then you get the truth, right? Your friends, getting with your friends. I create a safe space so people always open up to me. And then I find out the real truth of what's going on. And each one having a different thing. Adversity is something that they're having to deal with, because we all are. We all have things that we're dealing with. No one's living this idyllic, white picket, perfect life that people think they are. But they're not all out there. Now, some are. Some people are out there sharing openly, I say the good, the bad, the ugly. Yeah. Some people are doing that. And I worry about them, because often they're the ones who get bullied, right? But because people will judge them. But no one is living this perfect life, Tracy. No one is.
No.
And we all have adversity. We all have things that we're dealing with. But social media is just showing, for the most part, what they want you to see. So someone's excited about, they've written a book, like you wrote a book and you're sharing about your book. That comparison game becomes so dangerous then, because someone will say, oh, Tracy wrote a book and I should have been writing a book and I didn't write a book. Well, and I say to them, if you're meant to write a book, you'll write a book. Like it'll come, in your time when you write it or don't write it. So, one time I remember many years ago reading something, it was about an athlete who said, about this comparison, how they do not compare themselves to others. They only compare themselves to themselves, called personal best. Yes. So when they go out, they're looking at and they were a runner, their last best time of running. And then comparing themselves to that to better it, to get it, quicker. Not comparing themselves to the person in the lane beside them.
No, I agree. It is. And I mean, I'll relate a story. I recorded a podcast this week, and not for my show, for somebody else's show. And we were talking about social media and the dangers of everyone, especially teenagers, believing everyone is living the perfect life and they have to emulate that person to get love and happiness. And that is so not true. And she said that a friend of hers decided to do an experiment, and she went to IKEA and she posed in front of the walls, and on the wall there was a scene of an ocean and palm trees. And so she posted selfies and put them on Facebook, going having the most wonderful time in Bali. And everyone started with saying, I'm so envious. When did you go to Bali? Oh, where are you staying? And it was constant messages about that, even from people that she didn't even consider, some media friends. And then the next day, she actually posted pictures of where she really was.
Mm.
And, the point was perfect, because it's don't believe what you see. And we're so caught up in this, and it drives me crazy at times, because I see our poor kids are so brainwashed into believing, I need to have my lips augmented and I'm 11 years old. I need to have eyelash extensions and I'm 10. Oh, wait a minute here. And unfortunately, if you are in a family environment where they are also controlled by comparison, it's very difficult to break that habit.
Here's how I kind of help those kids online when I'm working with teenagers. I work a lot with teenagers. Unfortunately, not right now because this pandemic. A lot of my in-person clients, like I won't work on the phone with kids. I need to be in their physical presence.
Of course.
But I work a lot with teenagers. But what I help them do is, if you want to align with self all the time, right? So if you are a teen who loves makeup, that's okay. I have clients, teen girls who love it. That's their thing, and that's okay. That's their thing. But if you're tell me the benefit and the reason that you want the whatever they're saying that they want, and if it's because you're trying to keep up with the Joneses, so to speak, or you feel you have to do this, then you because you're not going to fit in.
Yes,
that is not healthy. What's healthy is because you enjoy it, because you love it. Because I know some of my client teenage girls that love it. They just love trying different makeup in different colors, and they love that. That is a healthy reason to do it. An unhealthy reason is because you are trying to fit in with everybody else. That is unhealthy.
It is, and it means that we really need to help that teenager work on their self-worth.
Because all the time, it's the number one thing I'm working on with adults, teens, anyone I'm working with, is on their sense of self. What is their sense of self? And part of my own story is I didn't have a good sense of self. I had a lot of things happen to me in my childhood that robbed me of self-esteem and self-worth and self-value. I didn't value myself. And it was actually through coaching that I found myself and discovered my value. People wouldn't know it today. People who know me today would never believe how I used to be, ever. But I was already social. I would have been somebody who didn't need to be told to social isolate. Let's put it that way. Because I was already doing that when I was a teenager. Yeah. I was someone who, it was too exhausting for me to go out and be with people because I had to put on a happy face that wasn't my truth, right? But I found that I healed my life and found my self-value and my sense of self. And now that's what I really do, is help others find it, is, really, who are you? Like, who are you? That's why I don't focus on label, Tracy, because the first thing I want to know about these kids when I'm working with them isn't about ADHD. It's nothing about, I say I'm a covert operator working under the label of ADHD to help them find themselves. Who are they? And often they are very creative people.
Yes.
Extremely creative people. And I help them align back in in touch with their creative self. Not I'm trying to keep up with everyone else and I need to be like everyone else self. That isn't who they are.
No, I agree. And as I said, hate labels. And I always say, you can never if you have a mental disorder or a learning disability, you can never let that define who you are. It isn't you. It is a small part of you, just like you may have blonde hair and blue eyes. It's part of you. But the moment you allow yourself to be defined by the illness, the disorder, the disability, you're not a whole person. And I mean that in the way of the real you does not come through.
Yeah, because you can't, since I got into this business of people 10 years ago, I have met incredible people who do not define themselves by a label. You know, people who have a physical disability and mental disability, both, and the things that they're accomplishing. Even when they share with me about their life, and I say, and then I'm pinpointing what they've shared with me, the great, wonderful things they're doing, and then the belief that they have, not aligned, the belief that they have about themselves and what they're actually doing, not even the same thing, because they have this, it's like a narrative, right? In coaching,
Right.
we talk about narrative a lot, right? Which is, what is the narrative and what is the truth? The truth always shines through, which is, let's say, your soul, your heart, your spirit, who you really are, is going to shine no matter what. Even at my worst, when I was at my worst, like depressed person, I was still empowering other people. No one would have known. No one would have known that I was a depressed, suicidal person. Nobody would have known that.
No. And
Because
I can
was
attest
showing
to
up.
that as well. Yes, it
I
does.
was showing up every day, being there for other people, and then going home to my dark, as you call it, the rabbit hole, going home to my dark cave in my dark space. And so this is why, you know, you and I talk about this, and a lot of people talk about this, is why I say, you know, never have an opinion of another person, because you honestly, truly do not know. Even now, Tracy, when people are getting mad because people aren't social isolating, I say, don't get mad at them, because you don't know. Like, I have someone who just contacted me who just finished chemotherapy. Well, they can't do chemotherapy at home, Tracy. They got to get in their car and go out. So
Exactly.
don't be hard on people because you see somebody out in society, because you don't know why they are out there.
Exactly.
Like, I have to go out to deliver food to my mother and check on my mother. So I'm going to be out there sometimes in my car. So,
and I agree. And again, it's even in this, I think sometimes people are too concerned about what other people are doing instead of looking at what they are doing in their present space. And it's, you know what, if I think we spent half as much time self-care and tending to people within our immediate circle with love and compassion, then it would be a much better place, instead of wasting our energy looking at the neighbor across the road going, busy outside. You know, I mean, it's like, when you think about it, what has that done? Has impacted and changed your life? And has it done something for the better? Because if it hasn't improved your life and enhanced your day, then why are you giving it time?
If we show up every day with what can we bring to the world, which is what I always start my day. First, I'm having gratitude that I woke up and opened my eyes and that I'm still alive every day, because I was a person who wasn't going to be, right?
Yeah.
So every day I have a gratitude for being alive. And then I think about, what can I bring to people? And you know, and I want to bring a positive energy all the time. And, you know, I'm sure you can attest to that. You've seen what I share on social media.
Yeah.
It's all about empowering people and love energy. So that if we spend our time on that, you're not going to have time for gossiping about other people.
Exactly.
or you know, those are all very low energy things that are very harmful to people. But if people focus on them and what they can bring to the table, basically, you're not going to have time for that other stuff.
No, I agree. So we're almost out of time, and I think I'm going to have to bring you back for another show, Donna, because there's so much more.
So much you and I could talk about, right, Tracy?
We can talk about that will help kids, but also help empower parents to support their kids and understand them better. So I think, in closing, as a parent of children that, one, has anxiety, two, have ADHD, and in the current situation that we're in, what advice, what guidance do you give parents that are home with their kids right now, and their kids have a neurodegenerative disorder or a mental illness or learning disability? What words can you offer them to get them through the next couple of months?
Really, the most powerful thing is present moment. Like I said, I'm helping my children to take every day as it comes.
Yes.
And whatever comes their way. I'm really excited actually today, because my son's finishing off university, my eldest, and he's taken an extra year to finish it. And his teachers put lectures online, and he's invited me to come watch a lecture with him.
Awesome.
I'm overjoyed to come watch a lecture with him. And, you know, and he's asked me can you today? And I keep going soon, but I really want to do it. So today, finally, I'm going to be able to do that, and watch a lecture with him. So if you do things in present moment, I always say this, a lot of times we go looking for stuff we don't need to look for. Everything's just going to show up on its own in present moment. We don't need to go looking for it. It will show up. And as it shows up in present moment, that's when you can process it, and that's when you can problem solve. Come with a problem-solving mind to everything, because there are many solutions, and you have to find the one that works for you. So that's what I do with my kids. Every one of my kids has a different thing going on, and they know when they come to me, what am I going to help them do? I'm going to help them problem solve it. I'm not going to solve it. I'm going to help them solve it to how it works for them.
I agree. Thank you. I love that. And that's a perfect way for us to segue out. So thank you again, Donna. And yes, we will definitely have to have you back, because there's so much more that we can talk about. And we're going to take a very quick commercial break. And as per usual, you know what this commercial break means. We're going to show you Donna's picture. We're going to give you her bio and all the social media links. And so please do follow her on social media. I love her posts on Facebook. They lift your spirits. It doesn't matter if you're in a I can't do this kind of mood today. You just read it, and it does lift your spirit, and it makes you think. And then just that little moment creates a change. So I'll be right back.
Thank you, Tracy. It's been an honor to be here with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Donna.
Donna Hunter is a certified professional well-being coach who works with individuals, families, businesses, and schools to bring clarity, harmony, and productivity to people's lives and environments. Having healed her own life, Donna is a strong well-being educator, speaker, group facilitator, and a voice for living with passion and purpose. She specializes in the areas of mental health with mind well-being, life balance for well-being, collaborative problem solving, conflict resolution, empowerment, mindfulness, ADHD, autism spectrum disorder, anxiety, and learning challenges. Donna provides services in coaching, workshops, mentoring, consulting, speaking, and advocacy. Make sure to find her online at dhwellbeing.com. Also, find her ADHD website at adhdparentpower.com. Plus, join her private Facebook group at Your Voice Heard on Facebook, and follow her social media on linkedin.com/dhwellbeing and on Instagram at dhwellbeingcoach.
Welcome back, everyone, and I hope you enjoyed today's podcast with Donna Hunter. Some great information, and I do urge you to follow Donna on social media, especially Facebook. Her posts are extremely inspirational and uplifting, and they will make you smile. So this concludes our series of podcasts for the month of May. I can't believe where time has gone. And join me again next Thursday for another episode of Engage, Educate and Empower. And in the month of June, we have some pretty awesome guests with some great stories to share to help our children, teenagers, and young adults everywhere. Stay safe and stay well, and I'll see you again next week. Take care, everybody.